ever wondered whether trade names and trademarks are the same thing? The truth is, they can be pretty similar. A single thing can be both a trade name and a trademark. But trade names and trademarks serve very different legal purposes, and one provides a level of protection the other one can't even come close to. Here's what you should know. Hey friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so glad you're joining me today. I'm Faith Mitton, an attorney on a mission to simplify brand protection for entrepreneurs and business owners. On this channel, you will find tons of free, easy to understand, and practical insight about trademarks to help you learn how to protect yourself and to stay on the right side of the law. Now, if you're at all interested in the topic of trademarks, the chances are pretty strong that you've also heard the phrase trade name. And if you've done any research at all, you've probably realized that filing a trade name is a lot simpler and way less expensive than filing a trademark. So you may be more inclined to opt for a trade name over a trademark if you find legal stuff intimidating and you want the easiest option. But if that's the case, I'm really glad you're watching this video, because before you do that, you need to realize that trade names and trademarks are not interchangeable. What I mean by that is that trade names and trademarks have very different legal functions and statuses. And let's start with trade names. You can't really understand what a trade name is outside of the relevant context. So let's put some context on this thing. Trade names are also known as doing business as names, DBAs, or assumed names. Trade names allow individuals or organizations to operate publicly and conduct business under a name other than their legal name. The legal name of an individual is a name that appears on their ID, and the legal name of an organization is the name that appears on the paperwork that was filed in order to create that organization with the state. That paperwork could be called a certificate of formation, articles of organization, an incorporation certificate, whatever. Each state has their own flavor for what they call this particular document. But the point is that regarding the status of trade names, they function as aliases, allowing individuals or companies, nonprofits, businesses, whomever, to be able to operate publicly and conduct business under a different name than the legal name. And you may be able to get your trade name filing approved the same day that you make it. Usually these filings are made with the state or local government agency. It just depends on your jurisdiction. But what do I mean by a trade name or an alias? Examples are always great in these kinds of situations. So let's say, for example, that a man named Robert Jones has a side hustle where he edits videos for local events like children's birthday parties, graduations, baby showers, and so on. It doesn't bring him that much income, so he doesn't want to set up a whole corporation or LLC for it, but he does want to be able to use a professional sounding name on his invoices. So he files a trade name certificate for prestige editing services in his local jurisdiction. He can now offer his editing services and earn income under this trade name because he has not set up a separate business entity like a corporation or an LLC for his editing activity. But businesses like corporations and LLCs can also file trade name certificates. So let's say a business whose legal name is Main Street LLC, that's the name that appears on its formation paperwork, files a trade name certificate for Sunshine Apparel. Once that trade name certificate is filed, Main Street LLC can begin doing business as Sunshine Apparel publicly. Corporations and LLCs may file trade name certificates because oftentimes the name that they choose initially when they're doing their formation paperwork is a really bland and boring name, but they just choose something, anything, because they want to complete the business setup as soon as possible, and you can't complete the setup without a name. But as time passes, they may choose something more memorable to represent their business and then file a trade name certificate for it instead of having to go and amend their initial formation paperwork, because the trade name is a lot easier. So to sum up, when you think about trade names, think about aliases and switching up your identity. But filing a trade name does not give you ownership over the identity that you have chosen or the ability to stop competitors from using a similar one. That is what trademarks are for. Trademarks provide legal protection for a business's brand identity. A brand identity is something that helps people to identify a particular business as the source of certain products or services. And unlike trade names, trademarks are not just limited to names, although names are very commonly registered as trademarks. Trademark protection also extends to very commonly registered things like taglines and logos, as well as some non-traditional trademarks like building designs and product packaging and colors and sounds and much, much more. The purpose of this kind of legal protection is to prevent confusion in the marketplace, allowing your customers and clients to easily distinguish your products and services from your competitors so that they aren't misled by a similar business. You can create trademark rights simply by using a portion of your brand identity in public, and these are known as common law trademark rights. But these rights are really limited geographically. You will only have protection in the places where you have actually sold your products or provided your services. So to be able to claim ownership over your brand nationwide and to shut down infringement of your brand no matter where it occurs in the country, you will need to apply for a federal trademark registration and get that application approved. These registrations are issued by the United States Patent and Trademark Office or USPTO after a very extensive and thorough review process. And that brings us to another major difference between trade names and trademarks. Because filing a trade name certificate is enough to give you the right to use that trade name in your state or local jurisdiction, but simply filing a trademark application does not establish your ownership over that trademark. There are many legal requirements that go into the approval of a trademark application, way too many to cover in this video. But the one that is particularly relevant here is the requirement to establish use of a trademark. This use means prominently displaying the trademark in the sale of the products or the provision of the services. So for example, if you're in an e-commerce shop, your trademark should be clearly visible in your online store. On the other hand, if you're in an HVAC company, you'll want to make sure that your trademark is clearly visible on your work vans. The point is, you must be directly engaged in activity in public that associates your trademark with your products and services. That is the only way that the public will start to identify your business as the source of these products and services. Now, to throw a wrench at you, there are some trade names that can also function as trademarks. Going back to our Sunshine Apparel example from a few minutes ago, that company could register a trademark for their trade name as long as they were using the name as a trademark and there were no other reasons for the USPTO to reject their application. Businesses often register trademarks for their trade names in order to claim ownership over those names and to prevent their competitors from using similar ones. But the most important thing to remember, the most important takeaway I want you to have from this video is that filing a trade name does not automatically give you trademark protection because they are two separate things. Remember that trade names only provide aliases for people or companies who want to conduct business under a different name other than their legal name, whereas the purpose of a trademark is to prevent customer confusion by making clear who owns what brand identity and giving brand owners the ability to stop their competitors from using confusingly similar brands. Plus, trademarks aren't just limited to names. This kind of protection extends to taglines, logos, and much, much more. If you're not sure whether a trade name or a trademark is right for you, I would encourage you to consult a licensed attorney, because while I have summarized some things for you to consider here, this video is only a summary and a lot has been left unsaid. So be sure to reach out to a lawyer for legal advice if you need it. And that's a wrap. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And be sure to subscribe to the channel for more trademark content. You'll also want to turn on notifications so you never miss when I post a new video. If you've got questions or thoughts to share, I invite you to put those in the comments. I read and respond to each one personally, and I would love to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.